Good day, everybody. Steve Przebrowski. Welcome to tip number 49 in the series 101 Tips to Ace Your Promotional Exam. As a reminder, my website, code3firetrain.com, is a free stuff link with lots of great information, help you or somebody else get promoted, a lot of professional development information, leadership, training, a lot of great resources on there. Check it out if you haven't done so already. Also, this series is based on my latest book from Fire Engineering Books and Videos, 101 Tips to Ace Your Promotional Exam, available on their website below, as well as mine. All right, tip number 49. We've talked about a lot of different things as we get to about the halfway point in this tip series, but one of the most important, I think, keys to success in any line of work or just personal relationships is the ability to build and maintain positive working relationships. That is key to your success, everyone's success, off duty, on duty, whatever else. And it's not kissing ass, sucking up to people. No, it's actually having a good, solid working relationship with people that takes time to nurture. Now, for those of you that have paid attention or seen the book or heard me speak ad nauseum here, many of these tips are supported by what I call voices of experience. And a good buddy of mine, Captain Mike Gagliano, retired from the Seattle, Washington Fire Department, wrote the voice of experience for this one to build upon the ideas that I have within this tip. But anyway, he has some great words of wisdom about relationships, as I'm going to talk about as well too. So, you take a look at this picture, and it is so true. Now, and I say this, and before you say, hey, why are you making fun of generations? I am not that guy that jumps on the bandwagon to make fun of any generation, because think about it. For all those folks out there that are very quick to point fingers at Generation X, Generation Y, the millennials, the Zs, the whatever, baby boomers, if you're one of those folks I hate to say it, but if you're one of those folks that's actually pointing fingers at another generation, guess what? They're doing the same thing to you. So as much as you think that you're, making fun of them or calling them out, they're doing the same thing to you. Instead of trying to fight, how about trying to build bridges instead? Because really, especially as a good officer, even if you're not an officer, just a good coworker as a firefighter, you should be able to get along with people your age, younger, older, people that could be your grandparents' age or your grandkids' age. That to me is a top-notch quality leader, supervisor, manager, officer, coworker, brother or sister firefighter. Take it as you want. But for all of you that laugh about generations, isn't this picture so true here? For as much as people laugh about kids' haircuts today, hey, kid, enjoy that while you can, because at some point you're probably going to be like that. I'm not making fun of anybody. It's just, it is what it is. I had one of the guys I work with was panicking or stressed that his daughter came home with purple hair one day. And I'm like, okay, is your kid using drugs that you're aware of? No. Is she getting good grades in school? Oh yeah, she's a grade A plus student. Is she having problems at home? Oh no, she gets along with the family great. So the only issue you have is purple hair. I know we don't have kids, so it's easy for me or my wife to say things, and we're not trying to tell you how to be parents, but I'm thinking to myself, if that's the worst thing you got to worry about is your kid has purple hair and they're clean, sober, they don't get into problems, they don't get into fights, they're good people, and they volunteer in the community, be happy. It is what it is. It's, for whatever reason, it's their way of expressing themselves. So again, back to this point here, building relationships is critical. Think about it. In the fire service, you could have 3 generations of people in the same firehouse on the same apparatus. You could have someone fresh out of high school, 18, 19 years old, on a fire engine, supervised by maybe someone that's 36, 37, that could be their dad's age. And maybe the driver is someone that's in their 50s that could be their grandparents' age. Age shouldn't matter. So instead of fighting it, and here's the thing, if you find yourself fighting another generation, realize they're probably doing the same about you, but more importantly, build those bridges, because that's the collaboration and teamwork that is necessary to become a firefighter, a good firefighter. I don't care. I live in San Jose, in the San Jose Fire Department jurisdiction. I don't care what age folks are on that rig. If I have to call them to my house, God forbid, for emergency, yeah, there could be someone as young as 18, maybe someone in their 60s. I just want a crew that's cohesive, that trains together, understands teamwork, gets the job done, whether it's a medical call, my house on fire, or whatever. So be that one that builds those relationships with all age groups, because that's the key to success. And it's not just older and younger, it's also city staff. I know years ago, when I was a battalion chief, I requested one of our engines and one of our trucks to show up at a Saturday CERT drill. CERT is a term that's abbreviated for Community Emergency Response Team. Some call it NERT, Neighborhood Emergency Response Team, but whatever. Most communities have some type of volunteer CERT brigade, citizens like your neighbors that maybe aren't firefighters that just want to do good, want to help out in case of, in tough times, because we all know that when stuff hits the fan, trust me, the fire department in your city is going to be tapped and they're not going to be able to get everywhere. And that's why we sometimes try to teach personal emergency preparedness or CERT training to our residents so they can take care of themselves, be self-sufficient, because we're not going to get there when a disaster hits in a timely fashion. That's called triage. Well, back to that drill, I had engine and truck crew there. And it was a Saturday, and there was a class of, 20, 30 CERT team members. They were going through their final CERT drill because they had a bunch of, classes, one night a week and on Saturdays for the course of a couple of months. And this was their last day. They were going to go through their final exam and then be congratulated. I was the highest ranking officer, and it was really my job to, congratulate them, thank them, along with the city manager and the, elected officials that showed up. But anyway, I said hi to the mayor, and the mayor was one of the students in the class. So I knew who he was. But anyway, he's a student in the class. And I remember just thinking to myself, as the mayor is just talking to other members, in his class, his classmates. And I remember walking over to the engine and truck crews and going, just out of curiosity, hey guys, do you know who the guy with the beard is over there? And one of the firefighters goes, oh, that's one of the CERT students. Do you know his name? Do you know what he does? Oh, no, just one of the CERT students. And of course, all the firefighters are all congregated over here. And I'm not faulting anybody. I'm not saying anything that's out of the ordinary, because I remember when I was on an engine or truck, we'd usually congregate over here, and then everybody else would be over there, whether it's the cops over there, the citizens, we're cliquey. We're all like that. It is what it is. But anyway, I remember asking the 7 or 8 guys there on the 2 rigs, hey, anyone know who the guy with the beard is? And like I said, oh, that's one of the students. So that's blah, blah. Or I think they're all wrong. That's the mayor of the town. Oh, really? And I go, have you guys introduced yourself? Knowing they hadn't. Go up, please introduce yourself to each of them and thank him for his support, because again, he does support him and his elected official compadres, the other elected officials of the community. They support the fire department. They allow us to get the budgets that we get, and they help support us in times of need. But one of the firefighters, well, no, he can come up to us. And I'm thinking to myself, no, guys, be a leader, take the high road, go up and introduce yourself, because he's probably not going to do that to you. Don't expect him to kiss your asses, nothing personal. You go up and kiss, and kissing ass sounds bad, but take the high road and go up there, and just say, hey, I'm so-and-so, I'm Steve Prusbrowski. Nice to meet you. Now, here's the thing. It's, you may go, well, I just want to be a captain, or just want to be an engineer. I don't want to know the city staff. Well, think about it. The more city staff we can know by face, by name, the more supported we're going to be. Now, in our department, we have 7 different cities, plus a couple fire commission boards, as well as the board of supervisors. It's a lot of people to keep track of. But if you're just a one city, meaning your department covers one city, like most departments do, you've got maybe 5 or 7 elected officials, city council members, a city manager, a police chief, maybe key command staff members of the police department. You probably know some of the police officers because you see them on calls, they come by the firehouse. But if nothing else, this is what I used to challenge our crews with, and still do when I can, is in every firehouse, the internet makes it easy. In every firehouse, there should be downloaded pictures of the key staff members of the city manager, mayor, council members, maybe the police chief, pictures that are in there, because last thing you want to have happen, like I had happen at a separate station years ago, was one of the firefighters goes, this one citizen walked in, a citizen in a suit, mind you, walked into the apparatus space, he's just walking around, and the one firefighter, who the hell does that guy think he is? It's like he owns the place. He should have knocked on the front door. And of course, I'm like, well, that's actually the city manager of the town here, the one that approves the contract for us to provide fire services and could kick us out. And we don't want that to happen. That's the city manager. Oh, shit, I didn't know that. Well, you should have known that. Nothing personal. You know, had you known that, you would have walked up and said, hey, Ed, how you doing? Good to see you. I don't think I've met you before. I'm so-and-so, blah, blah. Nice to meet you. Can I show you around a little bit? Instead of the standoffish that we've all seen happen, you know, like, oh, they need to come up to us, or who that guy think he is. Well, yeah, he does sort of own the place, because even though the citizens own the firehouse, he holds the purse strings. We want to make sure we continue getting our contract, because that leads to raises, or at least keeping money and not taking anything away. It leads to our financial well-being. But get to know the city staff members too. Here's another reason why. It's not uncommon in some departments to have city staff members on promotional exams, whether it's a captain's test for especially battalion chief or higher. I know our department uses, for even sometimes captain, but especially battalion chief and above, deputy chief. We've had local police chiefs or police captains, like in the police world or law enforcement world, you know, usually it's police chief and then usually captain. They don't usually have the same ranks as we do, but they'll usually have their second or third in command positions, sometimes on an oral interview. Or I've seen city managers on oral interviews. I've seen assistant city managers, public works directors, parks and recreation directors, the key department heads, human resources directors. Yeah. And again, and you say, well, they're not a firefighter. What the hell can they do when it comes to deciding if I'm going to be a good battalion chief? Well, look at it from the bigger picture, the strategic view, not the task level view. Any department head or any high up person within a department, like the number 2 in command or number 3 in command in the police department, it's about people, and it's about evaluating people. You know, they're not going to be there probably managing your fireground evolution during the simulation exercise if you have one of those, but they can definitely be on an oral interview or evaluating a writing exercise or maybe a personnel related issue. So get to know those folks before the test occurs, because they can be valuable resources. Touched on elected officials as well. You know, I mentioned our department covers 7 cities. We also have the 5 board of supervisors for the county that my fire chief reports to. We also have a couple fire districts that we report to as well too. You know, one of the best things I ever did when I was a brand new chief officer, probably should have done it as a captain, but as brand new chief officer, I put together a binder. Now, like I said, 7 cities, board of supervisors, and a lot of people to remember. I put a binder together though to try to, you know, print out pictures, names, and faces of the elected officials, the key city staff members. And I had that binder. Now, I can't remember everything, nobody can. But I also printed out key demographics like population, you know, square miles of the community. Because again, we serve 7 different cities, you know, so it's a lot to keep track of. But I put that binder together as a reminder. So like if I had to go to a city council meeting, I'd usually refresh myself on that binder right before I got there. So at least I put names to faces, so I didn't look like the idiot of, oh, hi, nice to meet you. It's like, we should already know those folks. Because think about it, let's look back recently, about a year or 2 ago, the defund the police department movement was alive and well around the nation. Don't think that fire was not in that conversation, because in most communities, when they were looking at maybe defunding or rerouting money within police department budgets, most smart city managers and council members were also looking at fire department budgets. Well, if we're going to look at making the police department more efficient and effective, let's also look at the fire department and every other department in the city. And when police and fire make up usually 2/3 of a city's budget, if not 3/4, yeah, guess what? We're easy targets sometimes. So don't think you're bomb-proof when it comes to your budget. When times are tough, it's hard for elected officials to, take things away of people they know. But if they don't put names to faces, that's why hopefully your union or your association, whatever you have, is doing a great job of not kissing ass, not sucking up, but getting to know and build and maintain positive working relationships with the city staff, the elected officials, and as obviously the citizens, because they're the ones that hold the purse strings. They're the ultimate ones that make the decisions in the best interest of the community. But again, look back, last year, I'm doing this in 2021, but last year with the defund the police movement, the citizens obviously didn't give a crap about their police department. Now I say citizens, it was probably a small percentage, but it was the vocal small percent that obviously didn't feel any love from their law enforcement. So if you're not feeling if you're not giving that love to your community and times are tough, you're expendable. So also to make sure you get to know those counterparts to other agencies, especially like if you do a lot of automatic or mutual aid with your local departments, because you don't want to get a chance to know people when the fire's happening and you get called into that neighboring jurisdiction to help them out and say, hi, I'm Steve, and this is my crew here. You should already know those names and faces, even if it's just stopping by the station for coffee. Make sure you check with your battalion chief to get approval for going out of your district, or invite them over or something, or meet somewhere in the middle. Maybe train, are there rigs like your rigs? Because again, you could show up at a fire on a mutual aid event and they could immediately tell you, hey, you're assigned as the rapid intervention crew. Well, we don't have that equipment. Well, we do. It's on our truck. Go grab it. Well, what compartment? That's the type of stuff that you should have already figured out when things are calm and normal and before the big one. Get to know the capabilities, the strengths, the weaknesses of your counterparts. So when it's 2 a.m, the bell's going off, you can seamlessly transition into the process and help them out. And also, it should go without saying, don't just rely on counterparts or people at the same rank as you. Those above and below in rank, the more people you can get to know and have a good, solid relationship with, working relationship with, the better. Get their cell phones, get their email addresses so you can contact them if needed. Because as I mentioned, much of your success in life can be tied to your ability to build and maintain successful working relationships with others, also known as playing nicely in the sandbox, something that you should have been taught if your parents raised you correctly, or I'm not saying just parents, let's say you're raised by one parent or even foster parents, or maybe guardians, whoever raised you should have taught play nicely in the sandbox. It's also known as Playground Rules 101. So on that, and the key is not being an asshole, because again, we all know those folks that live up to that name, and you know what, they're the people that usually, I know assholes still get promoted and assholes are still successful in life. I get it, but the odds are sort of stacked against you at times, because at some point you'll be made. So that said, as always, thank you very much for the gift of your time. Hoping you're getting some value to all of these that I'm sharing with everybody. So until the next episode, be safe and we'll see you soon.